and it means a lot. It means a lot to myself and to our campaign. And thanks to you for all being here. It means a lot. As Doug said, and as Ray said, I appreciate introducing things here, Ray. We had a big night on Tuesday. We won by over 40 points. But that wasn't the real story. The real story is that now, as Doug said, there's going to be a clear choice in November. One person who has Republican, conservative, and independence lines against Bill Owens. And Doug laid out all the policies where our current congressman is in lockstep with President Obama, where he's wrong. He's taking us in a wrong direction. You see the polling numbers, where people do not believe our country is growing. People believe our country is in decline. People are very nervous and scared about the direction of our country when it comes to health care. People are sick and tired of out-of-control spending, the yearly deficits, and the overall growing annual debt. People want a new direction. People are going to have a clear choice here in the 23rd Congressional District. And what's going to happen over the course of the next 4 months is myself and our team and everyone from Doug Hoffman to all our great volunteers all over this vast new 21st Congressional District to go out and take the message. To take the message to the people that we can make a choice, that we can make a clear change and go in the direction of not worrying about what's going to happen to my job and is the economy teetering on the brink and will fall into recession. You know what? There's policies. There's policies when we're talking about not increasing taxes on our job creators, reducing and reining in the regulatory burden, not having the uncertainty of knowing, will my taxes, will the regulations, will health care change over the people who create the private sector jobs, people who go out and take the risk every day to make sure that they know that there's not people against them in Washington, but there's people like myself, the proud self-made businessman. There's a person like Doug Hoffman, another proud self-made businessman, that will go ahead and fight for the men and women all over this new 21st Congressional District for them in Washington. And so with that, we appreciate very much Doug's endorsement. We'll be working together in the future. And I just want to say we're going to have a good race here as we go forward for the next 4 months. Thank you very much.
If you could join us back in the front. At this time, we'll take on-topic questions first from members of the media for Doug and for Matt. Thank you.
How has the dynamics of the campaign changed with the new congressional district?
Well, the new 21st is approximately 60% of the old 23rd and 40% of various districts, and so it's just required that to go out and work even harder to make sure people in Warren, Washington, Saratoga, and a chunk of Fulton County know who I am and understand what the clear choice is as we go into November. So certainly, when you lose the central New York area and you pick up the Capitol land and Saratoga, and et cetera, it's a challenge, but it's been an exciting one and one that we've met so far. And we did pretty well on the primary night in the new parts of the district.
Any other on-topic questions from members of the media? We'll switch to off-topic questions for you. You want to ask about?
That's why he gets the big class.
Yes, right. How are the wedding plans going?
There you go.
From what I heard, I've been on the road for the last 3 days from the dispatch from Alexandria Bay that the wedding's set for Saturday. I appreciate the question, Mr. Zerlo. And we're all set to get married in the church I grew up in, an altar boy. So we're very excited. Everything's going to be. And I'll ask for the weathermen and the other news people that please make sure you put an extra word in for good weather on Saturday. That's all I can ask for. So.
Looks pretty good so
far. So far.
Matt, can you talk a little bit about what you hope the Supreme Court does today?
Well, clearly, I've been out there saying that I think the fundamental bill itself, Obamacare, is unconstitutional. And at this point, we'll see. We're down to a matter of minutes. I mean, you said 10:30. Who knows? Even earlier, where the decision will be handed down. But if you think about the core issue, which is really before the Supreme Court, is does Congress have the right to regulate inactivity? Is it within Congress's purview to make you do anything, whether you agree with it or not? And I think that really was the key issue that the justices of the Supreme Court had a tough time wrestling with. Now, what the exact outcome in terms of the difference, the individual mandate, the entire bill, other elements of the actual act itself, whether they get up or down by the Supreme Court, that's to be determined here in the next few minutes. But the core idea that Congress can tell you They have the ability to tell you to do anything at any time. I think the justices look frowned upon that, and I think that will at least be overturned when we see the decision later this morning.
Repeal and replace. If it is overturned, what would you replace it with?
Well, if it's overturned, then we don't have to repeal it. And so when we
Right.
talk about replace, whether it's overturned through the legislative or the judicial process, is to slow down. You know, when you have a bill of 27 some odd 100 pages, where, as we both used to say all the time, where Nancy Pelosi would say, let's pass it so we can learn what's in it, you have to slow down, and again, we're both business people, to slow down in an incremental way, think about what are the exact topics that we can deal with, and not to have government being one size fits all, or to have government run the entire healthcare, to think there's common sense business measures that both sides, both political parties can agree to. And when you take it in a piecemeal approach, but again, looking at the data, looking at what the facts are on the ground, not ideology, but what the actual needs of the American people are, I think then you can actually have a consensus and pass a bill to actually move the country forward. I mean, that's what happened with Social Security, that's what happened with Medicare. You needed both sides to go ahead and come together. It wasn't unanimous, but it was certainly bipartisan. Right now with healthcare, if you think about it, Bill Owens, his first vote in Congress was to help Obamacare along, the most partisan bill we've seen maybe in the generation. And so that's the thing that we have to stop and start working towards common sense goals. But the only way to do that is slow, incremental, and constitutional manner.
If it isn't struck down in its entirety, Speaker Boehner, I think, said yesterday, the House will get to work and that'll be a top priority, repealing it. You're on board with that fully?
Well, absolutely. I mean, I think the Speaker speaks for the entire Republican conference, as well as candidates like myself around the country, that this is a true challenge for small businesses all over our vast 21st congressional district. People are holding back hiring new people. People are holding back making the investment. This is part of the problem right now. We have unemployment that's almost 10% here in Clinton County, and a lot of counties around this district is over 10%. It's unacceptable. And you know what? Only by creating the economy where we have growth, and only when we have growth, people will start to hire and get people back to work, or get people a higher wage. That's how we grow, and that's how we make life better for all the people in the North Country and over the 21st District. But guess what? The overhang of Obamacare. Will my taxes be raised? What's going to happen with the regulatory environment? All these decisions weigh on business people, and they're going to hold back. They're going to hold back. And you know what? This is the moment where we need people to take the risk to grow their business and get people back to work. And so that's why I'll be with Speaker Boehner, making sure that we get the right health care and remove the uncertainty and move the issue forward for American people.
Mr. Hoffman, obviously you ran in the past congressional race, and some people say that because of that, that's why Matt Doheny lost. Do you ever have any regrets about that?
About running?
Yeah.
Look, we were both very good candidates that thought we could do the best for the congressional district. We both ran hard. I have no regrets, and I'm sure Matt has no regrets. We did the best we could, and unfortunately, we didn't all come together at the end. I told my supporters to support Matt. This time we're going to make sure they support Matt. We're going to make sure that we all come together, and we're going to make sure that Bill Owens does not return to Congress.
To add towards that, we're going forward, and we're at right now. We're honored that Doug's with us today and throwing his full support behind my candidacy. So as we go forward, we're making sure the voters are going to have a clear choice on November 6th of 2012.
And Matt, obviously you didn't have this luxury last time around. Do you think this will make the difference with the vote total last time, only about 2,000 votes, now having all three nominations? Do you think this will clear the path for you?
We're quite optimistic. We're hopeful. The key is going to be what the voters of the 21st Congressional District believe. Do they think that we're going in the right direction? Do they think that government should run health care? That trillions of dollars of deficit spending is acceptable? That high unemployment, as high as 10% in parts of our district, if that's acceptable. If people think that's acceptable, then there's a clear choice. They're going to go with our current congressman. But I have a serious hunch that most people are not going to agree with that. that they want a different direction. They don't want government to run healthcare. They're sick and tired of the out-of-control spending, the high unemployment, and the uncertainty of an economy still teetering. I think that choice is going to be clear. And again, having the three lines, not only the independents and conservative, but the Republican, then voters are going to have a clear choice, and we feel pretty good about our chances on November 6th.
This time you're running during a presidential election year. How is that affecting, the campaign, the issues, and the conversations while you're out there?
I think for now, certainly gives people, a heightened sense of awareness that you see, Governor Romney and President Obama on TV. But at the end of the day, certainly we're going to run the race that makes sense for the 21st district. That we're going to know the issues and continue to work hard, whether you live in Ballston Spa, down in Saratoga County, Old Forge over in Herkimer County, up in Messina and St. Lawrence, or back over to Rouse's Point in Champlain, up where John Zerlo lives in northern Clinton County. And so those issues, well, certainly there's a national impact, but we're going to be focused on what people on the ground think, and somewhat they'll be influenced by the presidential. There'll be more voters, 2012, I can tell you that. But in terms of what the issues are, what the concerns are on the ground, we're going to focus on that and let the national things deal with themselves.
Matt, you mentioned partisan politics a little earlier. Republicans have been accused of that too. If you get to Congress, how do you break through that and work with both sides?
Well, I think, Doug and I are both businessmen. And so here's the magical secret about getting a business deal done. You can't have everything you want. If only one side benefits, guess what? You're not going to have a deal done. And so that's the business experience that I have that I'm going to bring to Washington to understand that, as President Reagan told us time and time again, someone who's with me 80% of the time is not my 20% enemy. That's my good friend. And I think when you go through and you have the core principles, again, fiscal sanity, understanding gun rights are important, understanding we're going the wrong direction in terms of out-of-control spending, sticking to those principles, but making sure you can advance those principles going forward by getting legislation done that actually helps the economy, that helps our business people on the ground here. And so that's the spirit I bring. Now, what that means is I won't, be voting for a very partisan healthcare bill. That was the first vote that our current congressman actually took. That's the most partisan thing you can. And on top of that, we basically continue to make sure that people have a clear choice and understand, what? Business people can get things done in Washington. Business people can understand what your small business, what your family is actually having to deal with your own personal economy and all those issues that come along with it. That's the key to being successful in Washington, and that's what I hope to do, Joe.
Any thoughts on the Congress's vote on contempt for Attorney General Holder?
When you talk about, we'll see. And, clearly there's been definitely withholding of documents, that there's been, to a point where, Congress has to say, we actually have to hold the Attorney General in contempt to make sure that he turns over the documents. I'll be very curious to see where our current Congressman shakes out on that debate. Has he told you where he shakes out on that, Joe?
Maybe later today.
Can't wait to hear it.
We all stand by and look forward to that.
Absolutely.
Any other questions from members of the media? Thank you all very much for coming. We appreciate it.
We also appreciate Ray Scott putting on a bow tie here today as well. So there you go. It doesn't happen very often. How are you?
Shelley started.
Thank you so much for coming out. I appreciate it.
All right, good job. Thanks, Jim.
Good to see you. Gotta make sure that what
See ya.
John. I was thinking you
My girl
I do. Thank you.
Hey, Jim.
How are you? Jesus.
How are you? Congratulations. Congratulations.
Woman, how are you? Good to see you. Thanks for coming. Appreciate it.
I'm here a little late. Got the 9 o'clock switch.
It's tough. Very tough. So.
Hey, Bob. Hi. How are you? Thank you. Thank you. Thanks. Nice to see you.
Okay. Good to see you. Thanks for coming.
Thanks.